Cynthia, thanks so much for joining us a bit ahead of NAM this year. We really appreciate you making the flight in from Hawaii.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
You just recently moved there. Have you found any strange, awesome new things to eat, or is the culture completely different? Tell us a little bit about it.
Um, Hawaii's awesome. I think, as most people can imagine, that it's pretty nice to be in a place where the climate is about 85 degrees year round. I live a 10-minute walk from the beach. It's winter there now, but instead of cold weather and snow, we get a lot of rain and rainbows. And you can see I post a lot of the rainbows on my Instagram because they're still a fascination to me. A lot of I think local Hawaii people are less surprised by the rainbows, but I'm just always so delighted to see them. Um, let's see. I have found that as much as I loved the aloha spirit and aloha culture, that living on the mainland, it like attracted me to Hawaii, and it's a big reason why um, why I love the Hawaiian culture and the ukulele community as well. The ukulele community really embodies the aloha spirit. Um, it brought me to Hawaii, and now that I'm there, I feel really immersed in it. That even just walking around the streets, I live in a high rise building, like meeting people in the elevator, there's always a sense of wanting to share a little bit of yourself. When I'm just like waiting in line for poke, like people like making conversation and doing nice things for each other, like holding the door. There's no road rage, There's a lot of like flashing a shaka when you like people want to cross the street or you let somebody pass, that kind of thing. Um, it's I feel it so much more. I feel how maybe before I wasn't living as aloha as I could have, and it's. Uh, I think it makes you feel like a better person, that you want to be more kind and generous and all that kind of good stuff. So that's a big part of being there, and the food is great. I'm very happy with the food. There's a lot of like California food scene there, but there's also just amazing poke, and we eat poke so much.
Have you found the best masalada spot yet?
I'm not that into malasadas. Like yeah, malasadas are donuts. Um, I I am less into malasadas and more into mochi. Yeah, and you can find a lot of amazing mochi everywhere. That makes me really happy.
I think that'd make about anyone happy. That and rainbows instead of blizzards, I'll take it. Uh, well, now that you're over in Hawaii and you've mentioned part of why you love the ukulele community, and something we've run into with our other artists that we've gotten to sit down with is how warm and how much aloha spirit really uh, is part of the whole community and the whole like artist scene. Um, what originally drew you into the ukulele community?
Hmm.
Was it that feeling of like kind of oneness, or not oneness, but that everybody's accepted and appreciated for what they bring, or
Hmm.
did you come from another like instrumental background that you're proficient or that you dabble in?
Well, I started out. I would say I started out as a singer, just being a Chinese American kid. I grew up playing piano and violin, and then when I got into college, I started playing guitar, just learning it on my own. So I would say my first real like performance instrument was guitar, but I got into ukulele actually through hula. I learned to dance hula when I was living in Chicago, and my my halau, my hula school, um, they welcomed me in, and that is, indicative of the Hawaiian culture. That it's very warm and very family like. We are Ohana, right? Ohana
Yeah.
ukuleles. There's there's always a sense of inviting people to belong, right? Of inclusiveness, but there's also a sense of like this kind of internal family structure, especially within a halau, a hula school. So it's kind of like
respect and
it's less steps to follow and more just being there and absorbing the culture. So I feel like that's really important.
yeah.
That especially when it comes to say me learning Hawaiian music or the language, that I I I don't want to perform the songs without really understanding what they mean. Yeah, so I mean that's another.
That's right on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
another reason why I want to be in Hawaii. But when it comes to the ukulele vibe, I think that coming from hula, learning Hawaiian music through hula, it was easy to move into ukulele. And once I started meeting other ukulele players, I got a sense of how open everybody is. Like there's not this sense of competition. Not that there is in say like guitar or other instruments,
Yeah.
but there's less camaraderie, I would say. That everyone's just kind of playing music on their own until then you meet the ukulele community and there is this feeling that everyone is playing together, that we are together creating a strong community spirit. So I do my best to perpetuate that, and I think the more I think the leading, I think there are a lot of ukulele teachers online who help to foster that spirit, foster that community, through our online teaching and through our in-person events like our jams.
I would totally agree with you. It's been a lot of fun to get to know some of the teachers and personalities that we interact with remotely and actually meet them face to face.
Yeah.
I really am a big fan of your play along style. That's kind of you're very well known for.
Thanks.
And I've had a hoot over at Hoppers at a couple of different engagements there. That's locally in Gardena, California.
Mm-hmm.
How did this teaching style become your signature kind of style, or something that you really like to incorporate into your teaching?
I'd have to give a lot of credit for my jam play along style to Ukulele. And if you don't know Ukulele, he is a Bay Area ukulele player, musician, father, community leader, and all around super fun guy. I call him Mr. Personality. He actually, okay, so I credit Lenny with really bringing me into the ukulele YouTube world. He came to one of my shows. This is back in probably 2010 when I was still playing guitar. I played a gig in Berkeley, and he came just to watch. Afterwards, he chatted me up. He's like, "Hey, let's jam." I was like, "Okay." I'm not really a jammer, but okay. And he took one of my guitar songs, an original guitar song that I wrote, and he made an arrangement for the ukulele and he shared it on YouTube. This was like way before anyone was doing that. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And then we jammed, and then he became the leader of my band, Cynthia Lin and the Blue Moon All Stars, and it was all history from there. But essentially, he was teaching ukulele on YouTube long before I was. So he had built up a following and was leading jams at our local Hawaiian restaurant called Paina Lounge in San Francisco. And then he invited me to co-host the event with him. And Lenny has an ability to make anyone excited to play. And I've just enjoyed so much working with him, leading the jams. we would create these chord chart songbooks and hand them out. And we started out with gatherings of like 20, 30 people. They grew to like 40, 50 people. They grew to where we were selling out the place at like 150 people. And now we lead regular jams in San Francisco, our SF Uke Jam community, where we regularly have 300 to 400 people at our events.
That is cool.
Yeah. So the play along style, getting back to your original question, the play along style comes from me wanting to invite people to be part of the musical experience. I started out putting out videos and asking people to download a chord chart to play along with the video. And, this was back when I was just starting on YouTube, 2013, 2014. You can see my early videos don't have any lyrics or chord diagrams on them. But then, I started just using iMovie and testing it out and like finding ways to like add lyrics and chords, and any way that I could make it easier for people to watch and play along. And then also other great ukulele channels were doing that too, like Ukulele Underground and the Uke Teacher. We were all trying different ways of like making sure that our viewers and our community was engaged. So I feel like once that became the norm, and now it just makes sense. We should always have people playing along with us.
I love how immersive, and it does make everybody feel like they're part of the team and part of the whole experience.
Yeah.
That's right on.
Yeah.
Speaking of ukulele, you guys kind of, sort of, are in charge of one of the most popular, biggest festivals in the States, I think.
Wow.
One of the most popular ones anyway, and that would be the San Francisco Festival.
That's right.
Gosh, I can't imagine how challenging it must be to try and organize something in a large and densely populated space like San Francisco. Has that come with some growing pains along the way, I would guess?
It was like the natural next extension of our big jams, that we would start with just bringing people together locally to play, and then as both of our international fan bases, our fans from all over the world, started becoming interested in the festival or interested in jamming with us, we decided to just go for it, open it up to be a full-on festival. It's not cheap to have a festival in an expensive city like San Francisco. So there definitely been some growing pains there. That we have changed locations this year. We've moved from Japantown in San Francisco to actually Berkeley, to the Freight and Salvage, which is the music venue where we have our jams. And we're going to have our San Francisco Summer Uke Fest there. So it'll be our fourth festival. So another kind of growing pain was figuring out how this festival was going to work. At first, we were afraid to fully name it the San Francisco Uke Fest, so we started with San Francisco Uketoberfest, because we had it in October, and the next year we had another Uketoberfest, but there's actually other festivals called Uketoberfest, and then with my own travel schedule, we wound up moving the next one to the summer, and summer just makes sense for us, because summertime, it's nice to be outside, it's nice to have like the liveliness of like a huge outdoor gathering. This year's festival is July 24th through 26th, and you can find out more at sfukefest.com.
Since you have so much experience helping to get that festival organized, has it changed the way that you interact with festivals as an attendee? Like, are you looking at different parts of the festival and appreciating kind of different parts?
Yeah, I think in the States or on the mainland, the Uke Fest idea, it's almost like we're all just trying to kind of copy each other. Like, you go to a festival and you're like, oh, I like how that's done, let me try that too, right? And I've since discovered that say, in Australia, they've been doing uke fests for a long time, and that it's there now that in the mainland we've been having uke fests for, I don't know, probably over 10 years now. um, the festival organizers can all reflect on their experience and kind of grow from that. And I know, like, say, James Hill has talked a lot about the evolution of the festival, that it used to be just come, attend, take some workshops, and immerse yourself for the weekend. And the ukulele community here has really kind of grown from that, right? That, like, okay, we can do that, but what else can we do? And so I think that each festival organizer is now kind of like carving out the niche of what they like to do.
As an artist, you travel quite a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and one of those travels happened to be to China with some other Ohana artists. Did Benny Chong lay down any wisdom during that tour?
It was definitely illuminating and, a great honor to be able to travel around and play with Uncle Benny and with Jennifer Lightham and with Abe Lagermus Jr. That was a very fun tour in China with Ohana ukulele. So thank you, Ohana, for bringing me. Uncle Benny definitely tried to give me some jazz ukulele lessons. I'm not sure how much they helped. But to be able to watch these, like, I don't know, legendary musicians play, that definitely opened my eyes. And to tour around China also and see how ukulele is taking over that country, that was awesome too. There was a moment at Music China, the big music convention in Shanghai, when just probably like 100 young ukulele players surrounded me, and we were all just jamming together. And yeah, it blew my mind. It was so fun.
Were you surprised by how many fans you had outside of, like, Shanghai proper, even in some of the smaller cities? You had quite a loyal group of fans.
Yeah. It was hard to tell right before we went, because in China you don't get access to YouTube. So then that means the Chinese uke fans are basically like going on VPNs in order to get to YouTube and learn from the different YouTube ukulele teachers. So there's just a hunger there. Yeah, and it's a much younger following, the ukulele community there. So it's really cool to see how active they are and just like spreading the aloha spirit in China.
We had a really great time bringing both of your Cynthia Lin models to the Artist Signature series out. There are two different ones, or actually four if you count the EQs. Is there a reason someone might choose one model over the other, or can you go into a bit about why you chose, say, Worth strings over the standard Aquila and some of those things on your line?
Yeah, definitely. The first model that we worked on, the 14CL, it made sense for me, just as an ukulele teacher who was focusing on helping beginners learn ukulele, that I wanted to design an ukulele model that was specifically for beginners, but one that beginners could grow with. That I would see in my classes, sometimes people would come with cheap ukuleles and then immediately need to upgrade because they just didn't sound good. So, it was great to work with Ohana to design the 14CL, a laminate mahogany one, with the upgraded Worth Brown strings. And I found that a lot of beginners don't know that it's pretty easy to change the strings and that it can transform the sound. The Worth Brown strings, just being fluorocarbon, they're easier to play. They bring a brightness, or some people actually might say that they're more mellow, but they bring a sweeter tone to pretty much all ukuleles. I'm not as big a fan of the fatter strings, the fatter nylon strings that often come standard on an ukulele. So I thought if we could deliver the ukulele with the upgraded strings, then we could bypass the part about learning to change the strings because that's not so easy. Um, yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think also like my fans wanted to support, like buy whatever model I suggested for them to buy, and I didn't see anything out on the market that I was actually like that excited about. So it worked out so well to work together with Ohana, and we actually made that prototype come together really quickly, you know. So um, moving from the beginner to the performance model, that was a natural step because I wanted to be out performing with my signature ukulele. It's a little bit hard to the beginner model. It is you can perform with it, but it is I wanted to perform with a solid wood instrument, and so it was nice to be able to work with Ohana to create the solid mahogany version, what we're calling the performance model. It's funny because my guitar, the guitar that my treasured guitar that I played on pretty much all of my albums before my ukulele career started taking off, it looks like this. It's basically a big mahogany cutaway Taylor guitar, and now I have this concert cutaway as my standard performance instrument, and I think it's a being concert can be suitable for players of all shapes and sizes, right? And you, with the cutaway, you're able to get up on the fretboard. It has the upgraded strings. I'm into the low G now. When I first started, it took me a while to get used to low G, and now that I have been playing low G for a while, it's my go-to. So the performance model also comes with the option of this wound low G string. Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice.
All right. And then the electronics, you know, people want to be out and performing, and so I really like this onboard active pickup that comes with the 35 CGE if you're interested in getting those electronics.
Thank you for breaking that down for us. All right, so you may or may not know, but Craig, Chee,
Okay.
and Sarah Mizell just had a baby boy named Cameron.
Yes.
We're filming this. They had planned to be up here to sit and help us with the interview
Aww.
and chat and see you, of course, and catch up. But a baby. I mean, an adorable baby.
I'm
you
so
guys
happy
made
for
a
them.
Really cute baby.
Yeah.
So we miss you. But they asked me to pass on a few questions from Sarah and Craig.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump right into those.
Hi, Sarah and Craig, and hi, Cameron. Mwah.
Aloha, Cynthia.
Aloha.
As you already know, Sarah and I love all the positivity and energy you bring to the ukulele world.
Thank you.
From instructor to performer to event organizer, there are many hats that you wear.
Oh boy.
What are some other creative roles you may have had that many wouldn't know about?
Oh boy. I would say actually the designer aspect of doing all of those things. It kind of goes with just being an artist entrepreneur. I do a lot of the design and promo for all of those things, for my performance, for the jams, for the festival. It comes actually from my background as a letterpress printer. Most people wouldn't know that, but I used to have a letterpress shop, and that was just one of the many random odd jobs I've done as an independent artist, lifelong independent artist. So I wear the designer hat a lot, and that comes in handy. I think other than that, there's a lot of marketing and technology that comes with an independent artist career. So just the technical back end of all of these, the event site, the ticketing, the YouTube side of getting different like promo videos designed, edited, and produced. I've learned a lot about that side of it just living in San Francisco for one, but my first job out of college was actually at a tech startup. So I have I've always had an interest in tech, and in my artist career, I've just tried my best to use tech to support my artist career. So there's the technological side. And then, yeah, when it comes to marketing and self-promotion, I've also learned about that you just kind of have to do it, but you also have to go with what your community wants, So, yeah, a lot of learning to speak to the community and to get your messaging right. Yeah. Yeah. Good question.
And then that messaging. That's all about it.
Yeah.
Sarah and I have seen many people with their Ohana Cynthia Lin models at festivals around the world. What, you guys? What was unique or special about working with Ohana to create your custom line?
I like that Ohana is, small. You call the office and you're going to get somebody on the line, and it's pretty awesome that way. Also, I think Ohana has a specific space in the ukulele manufacturing world that you're able to try lots of different prototypes because you have connections with different factories in China, and get them out to market to actually try them out, like get the customer feedback. But also you have your warehouse here in Long Beach, where you can make sure that everything is like quality control to your standards, right? It's not getting just shipped from China, that it is looked over here in California before it's sent out to the world. So I definitely appreciated that even though it was a beginner instrument, when we first started designing the first beginner model, even though it was a beginner instrument coming from a factory in China, like all beginner instruments are, that it would get some extra care in California. And it was just really easy to work with Louis and Stephanie and the team to bring this prototype to life and then to get it out to the world. And big thanks to my fans for beating down Ohana's doors to get it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I feel very lucky that we were able to, I don't know, like walk this road together. So
yeah,
thank you.
It was a fun experience. Definitely new territory for us too. So,
Yeah.
But it was
right.
We couldn't have had a better dancing partner.
Ah, thanks. Actually, also, I think my signature beginner model was one of the first ones out there that was like a signature model made made for more than just one person.
Right, not made for you specifically,
right.
But for people that, yeah.
Right, a lot of signature models are just like the one-off $3,000 instrument, for the artist, and I think it made the beginner players out there feel empowered, right? That they got an instrument that
for them.
Yeah, right. That like was kind of like certified by my signature.
Right.
So that was a cool experience, especially now that there are more signature models coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see ukulele players or ukulele artists all are like taking that opportunity to share their design perspective as well. Yeah.
Has the process of creating your own line changed how you think about ukuleles?
I I think I've learned more about the breadth of the ukulele lines. Well, I would say that probably as an industry, as an ukulele community, like we kind of all started from just like a few options for instruments, and in the last couple of years everybody wants every kind of ukulele right now. Like everybody has a banjolele, and everybody has a baritone, and everybody has a u-bass and bass ukulele. So I think it's more that just the overall hunger for ukulele has turned into like a wider passion for musical instruments and for options to be creative. And I'm all for that, you know. The ukulele could just be like more of a gateway drug to, to other ways of making music.
So if you were to go into like a festival or you go into your local music shop and you're checking out ukulele, does it make you look at them in a different or in a more targeted way now that you've had a hand in designing one of your own? Are you looking for specific
features?
Yeah, features or specific, like whenever you run your fingers up the neck, it's very you know, very glossy and it doesn't catch. Things like that.
I would say now I know what features of an ukulele are worth the extra value, extra cost of creation, like say like the slotted neck and stuff, you know, that it's more expensive but it makes it lighter and is a little bit harder to string, and you know, I think I'm more open to the that there being different kinds of ukuleles for all different kinds of players. Yeah, I would say that when it comes to, say, what I would choose still for, say, my signature series, I like to focus on a kind of instrument that will make most people feel at home with it. Yeah. So yeah, nothing too fringe, but my specific ask when I walk into an ukulele store and I pick up different ukuleles, and I'm different than some other maybe instrumental players because they want something bright, you know, with a tone that cuts through. Because I'm primarily a singer, I want something with a mellow tone that will fit well with my voice. So I think it's also understanding that this is kind of a different need to fill, right, in the ukulele world. It's not just about having like the brightest and the sparkliest uke. That a mellow tone is better for all of the singer players out there, and there are a lot of singer players. Because I like to tell, you know, my students and my fans that if you're not sure what you're playing, you just sing louder and you'll be okay.
Many of your students would love to know how you are able to balance all of the many things that you do. Do you have any tips for them to keep pushing forward without getting burned out?
Oh boy. Burnout is, I think, natural. So I would say it's okay to be so excited about it that you just throw everything into it, and then find that maybe you need to take a break, and that's okay. For me, I as my career has progressed, um, there have been more demands on my time, that's for sure. And I would say, as a lifelong independent artist, every day I ask myself, am I focusing my work towards the things that I really want? So, it's one thing if you're just starting out, throw yourself 150% into what you love to do. Um, that just, my mantra is follow your passion, and you just can't go wrong with that because you're feeding your soul. That's the most important thing you can do for yourself as a human. So let's say, 4 years ago, I was starting the 100 Days of Ukulele Songs project. You have to be a crazy person to want to play and record 100 songs, and publish them every single day. It's just too much pressure unless you super, super love the instrument and your own musical growth. And there are a lot of people out there in the past couple of years who have done the project with me, because ukulele people are crazy, but also this process of self-discovery and artist discovery is something, it's just a way to push yourself, right, to the next level, to commit to this kind of public challenge. So, so you can throw yourself into that. But once you feel like you're at a place where you have some mastery at what you're doing, and then you have many demands on you, or many projects that you could pursue, then a word of advice that I read from Derek Sivers, who created CD Baby. He said, when you have that many opportunities presented to you, then you have to feel like you want to say hell yes, right? So that if your response to something is not hell yes, if it's not 10, 1 out of 10, 11, right? If you're maybe I want to do it, then that's the way I start measuring out what I want to do. You have to kind of be okay with putting some other things on the back burner, maybe even things that were working for you really well. And I'm just talking from an artist perspective, that I might have to not spend as much time editing tutorials because the time spent on that doesn't feel like it's feeding my soul, but instead say hell yes to focusing on more polished produced videos, or working on a different kind of ukulele lesson format, or a new voice channel, which is in the works. So yeah, burnout is okay, but make sure you're saying hell yes and follow your passion.
Yeah. All right, it's our last Craig Chee question of today.
All right.
Describe your dream ukulele event that you would want to attend.
Well, okay, so esports is really big now, right? I mean, if you don't know what esports is, it's basically where a bunch of people get online together and play a video game live all at the same time, and sometimes they meet in a huge arena and they're all playing together in a huge arena. When I saw this, it made me realize that even though people are individually playing the game, they all want to be in the same place and enjoying the experience together. And I thought, what if we could fill an arena full of ukulele players to play all at the same time, and take what Lenny and I are doing and just magnify it as much as it could be magnified. So that's an ultimate vision that I have out there on the horizon, that we have gathered 400, 700 ukulele players at one time. What if we could make it 20,000? What if we could make it 40,000? It's not like I've figured out how we're going to get there, but that's the vision.
Let us know when that arena is booked. We'll be there.
Yeah. You can you imagine, the exponential joy that would come from that feeling? Because we go to football games or whatever,
Right.
yeah. But if everyone had an instrument with them and they were part of it,
right there.
that's right.
It'd just be like a bubble of world peace that would surround the whole earth.
That's a dream. Ukulele world peace.
Craig, thank you so much for helping us out with these questions
Craig.
today. As always, so insightful from a fellow artist. We are going to miss you guys at NAMM, but give Cameron extra cuddles.
Yay.
Cynthia, thank you so much for making the trip from Hawaii out to Long Beach and for spending some time with us today.
Happy to be here.
You've got so much going on, and we so appreciate your time.
I love Ohana. Thank you for all that you've done for me as well. Yeah.
Right. Aloha.
Aloha.
Won't you go with me? Won't you come and see?